Kane Thornton. Kane, thanks for your time. You've released some data pre-election. It's looking at the competing plans, really, when it comes to energy. Can you explain to our viewers what the report is and what it says?
Yeah, we think this is a really important piece of analysis. It's commissioned from Jacobs, who are world leaders in this sort of market modelling. And what we want to do is take a look at the two alternatives. So one is continue the path, continue to deploy renewable energy into the energy system. What happens to power prices versus if we stop renewable energy, we wait 20 years for nuclear power and we have to sweat out and use our old coal and more gas. And the result of that modelling shows that under that second scenario, power prices in 2030 would be $450 more expensive for the average household.
And where do you land at that number? So we know what the government's target is, 82. Where do you get that number in terms of the coalition's renewable number side by side with its nuclear plan? Where does that come from?
Yes, so that's based on the modelling that was undertaken for the coalition back in December by Frontier Economics. They did a package of modelling that looked at what happens if you push ahead with nuclear, but what happens if you stop that renewable energy rollout. We've basically gone ahead and done the extensive modelling on that scenario and what it means ultimately for power prices because, as you know, we're in a cost of living crisis. People care deeply about power prices, and the most important part of a potential nuclear policy is what effect is it going to have on power prices in 2030, let alone in 2040
so
or 50.
Does it look at the scenario, say, where you've got more gas in the system in the interim? That's basically it, isn't it? Because that's the transition fuel, as it's called.
Yeah, well, there's two things that happens. If you stop renewables and wait for nuclear, what would need to...
But they're not saying they want to stop it, they're sort of slowing it, aren't they?
Well, the analysis shows essentially what they've backed in is stopping renewables at 54% of our energy mix. Today, we're in the mid-40s. In about 2 years, we'll be at 54%. So it's a pretty abrupt halting to the deployment of renewables. And in that scenario, you would be gambling on two things. One is that our old coal-fired generators could continue to operate. Now, these generators are really old. Over the next 10 years, 90% of them are going to close. Whether you believe in climate change, whether you want them to continue or not, you can't stop physics. These things are going to phase out. Their plan would be gambling on those coal generators continuing on, and then a whole lot more gas coming into the system to fill that gap that would otherwise be filled by renewables.
You know the critics of the government's plan will say, have you also costed what the price will be with the 82% renewable?
Yep. Yes.
So do we know what we know what the price is for the coalition one? What about the government cost?
So what we've looked at is the comparison between these two, and it's based on a whole lot of pretty complex market modelling. What we've said is if you take a baseline and if you look at what's the difference between these two scenarios, what's the difference if you continue to deploy renewables with stopping renewables and relying on old coal and more expensive gas? That's what we've modelled. The difference between those two is the critical...
So you do have the number.
Is the critically important thing.
You've still got the number of the government's... Because Moody's in the last week have estimated that the price to net zero is basically a jump in power prices of up to 65%.
Yeah, look, there's a collection of modelling that looks at what future power prices will be, and many of them are very speculative because there's a whole range of factors that go into that. What will energy demand be over coming years? What will be the price of gas? What will be the nature of the economy over that period of time? We wanted to exclude a lot of that noise, if you like, important, but we wanted to exclude that and just say there's two alternative pathways. What's the difference when you level out all of that noise between those two pathways? And it's $450 for the average house if we stall renewables and wait 20 years for nuclear.
Clean Energy Council Chief Kane Thornton, appreciate your time.
Thanks very much.